All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're figuring out how to trade in that knee-jerk emotional reactivity for, well, unshakable strategic power. Look, we all know we live in a world that doesn't exactly play fair, right? No matter how honest you are, no matter how much you grind, reality can be pretty harsh. But the people who really get this, they don't just survive the game, they literally master the board.
So I want you to take a second and be brutally honest with yourself here. Are you emotionally reactive or are you strategically intelligent? Like when things go sideways, do you just drown in the emotion of it, start arguing and just react, or do you step back, listen, calculate, and plot your next move? Essentially, are you sitting there playing checkers while the rest of the room is playing chess?
You know, we hear a term like dark intelligence and immediately picture some, I don't know, comic book movie villain. But actually scratch that. It's not about being a villain at all. It's essential armor. It's a type of strategic survival intelligence that's usually born when someone gets betrayed or takes a massive hit. While most people would just completely break down, strategically intelligent folks use that exact pain to build strength. They stay quiet, they gather intel, and they wait for the perfect moment. So in this explainer, we're doing a deep dive into the two absolute core pillars of this exact kind of power.
Let's get right into Pillar 1, the principle of detachment.
This right here, this is your ultimate internal defense system. And honestly, it's totally misunderstood. People hear detachment and think it means being this cold, robotic, aloof person. But it's actually about being truly, completely free. Think about it. What you aren't afraid to lose literally cannot control you. And what can't bind you absolutely cannot manipulate you. That's a heavy insight, right? Most folks out there are completely held hostage by their attachments. They're so terrified of losing a paycheck that they just accept toxic treatment, or they're so scared of losing a relationship that they compromise who they are. Fear of loss is exactly the thing keeping the average person weak. Stripping away that fear, that makes you incredibly powerful.
To put this into perspective, just picture a really high-stakes negotiation. Over here, we've got person A. They desperately need this deal. They're counting on it, they've already spent the money in their head, they are sweating it. Then over here, we have person B. Sure, they'd like the deal to close, but they've got options. They are 100% willing to just walk away if the terms suck. Who holds the cards here? It's person B, no question. The person who is desperate for the win is basically a sitting duck. But the person who can walk away, they're negotiating from pure, unadulterated strength.
It's a wild paradox, actually. The less you desperately need something, the more likely you are to actually get it. Why? Because detachment clears away all that emotional fog. When your ego isn't tied up in proving you're right, or you aren't just terrified of being alone, you just see things clearly. You make better, unrushed decisions. You pick way healthier relationships. And the best part? You become totally immune to manipulation. If somebody tries to threaten you by taking away something you aren't even afraid to lose, their threat instantly drops to zero. Zero power. The person with nothing to lose is dangerous, sure, but the person who has everything to gain and nothing to fear, they're untouchable.
Now, don't get me wrong here. The crucial takeaway is that detachment is not indifference. You still grind, you still put in the work, you absolutely still care deeply about the people in your life. But you just refuse to be a slave to those attachments. It's about caring without being controlled by that care. You never attach yourself so tightly to one specific outcome that you lose your ability to think straight.
All right, moving right along to Pillar 2, outcome obsession.
So, if detachment is your internal shield, outcome obsession is your external sword. This is the exact trait that separates the talkers from the actual doers. Just think about the last time you saw two people going at it in a social media comment section. That is amateur hour. They just want to be right, they want to point out flaws, they want to look smart. Professionals, though, they are outcome obsessed. They just cut right through all that noise and ask, okay, what result am I actually trying to get here? If your goal is a real-world solution, wasting your energy trying to win some meaningless debate is just completely useless.
I'm going to ask you this directly, and it might sting a little. Is the activity you're doing right this second actually moving you toward your goal? Or are you just staying busy? People do this all the time. They confuse just moving around with actual forward momentum. They think, well, I'm exhausted, so I must be making progress. Nope. You can work incredibly hard on the absolute wrong things and get literally nowhere. Honestly, staying busy is often just a really clever way we trick ourselves into avoiding the hard, actual work.
And that brings us to one of my favorite concepts, strategic laziness. Now, do not let the word laziness throw you off. What we're really talking about here is extreme, ruthless efficiency.
Outcome-obsessed people selectively focus their energy strictly on the 20% of activities that drive 80% of their results. They do not care about being the hardest worker in the room. They want to be the most effective worker in the room. They're constantly asking, what is the absolute minimum I need to do to get the maximum possible result?
If you want to build this kind of obsession, here's your roadmap. Step 1. Define the exact desired outcome. Like, what is the actual tangible goal? Step 2. Choose your approach based purely on what will hit that goal. Even if that means, swallowing your pride and letting the other guy think he won the argument. And step 3, and this is huge, change course immediately if it's not working. Outcome-obsessed people are fiercely stubborn about their goals, but they are incredibly flexible about how they get there. If the plan flops, they don't sit there trying to force a square peg into a round hole. They just adapt.
Okay, finally, let's look at ethical power and responsibility.
Before we wrap up this explainer, we really need to anchor all this power in some solid ethics. Because look, these tools we're talking about, they are meant to be a shield, not a weapon. You use this stuff to protect yourself, to spot manipulation from a mile away, and to maintain your core integrity. You do not use it to step on people. Real strategic intelligence isn't about becoming some master manipulator. It's about becoming an unstoppable ethical force who just cannot be manipulated by anyone else. It's about taking control of yourself so you can build win-win scenarios that actually serve the greater good.
So you've seen the absolute game-changing power of stepping back, detaching from your own ego, and locking in on the actual outcome. I promise you, the most valuable person in any room is the one who gets these dynamics and uses them to elevate everyone. So as you walk away from this and start applying these principles in the real world, I'll leave you with one final question to chew on. Which kind of person do you choose to be?
All right,